Hello everyone, Costume Teacher here, and I'm here today to read to you a silly story called Moosetache by Margie Palatini. So, if all of you could get your mustaches, moustaches ready, then we can start the story. Okay, let's begin. Moose had a problem. A horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A moustache. That is a pretty serious situation, isn't it? Now, not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble. No mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No siree. Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty moustache. But a moustache that was a burly, surly, mangy mess. And it itched a lot. Can I see you try to itch your moustache without using your hands? Sure, he plucked and he tweezed. And he even clipped, snipped, and teased. But his combs were still cowards, and his brushes rebelled. His scissors simply surrendered. Oh, look at it waving its little white flag there. It says I can't do it. Now, parts of this book rhyme, but parts of it do not, which makes it kind of interesting. There's also a lot of alliteration in this book. Can I hear you say alliteration? Oh, it's a tricky word. Let's try it one more time. Alliteration. What is alliteration? Well, let me explain it to you. It's a type of figurative language that means something fancy that an author puts in a book for special effect or to draw attention to some of the words. And alliteration is when you use the same sound at the beginning of words and you put them next to each other. For instance, when it said a big, bushy, bristly, those all start with the sound of the letter B. Or mighty moustache, those words start with the letter M sound. So, I want you to notice when the book rhymes, when it doesn't, as well as when it uses alliteration. Okay, let's keep going. Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The moustache was completely crimping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely hop and hip-hop with a mustache going flip-flop. Oh dear, he does have sort of a situation going on, doesn't he? He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flambe his soufflé with all of those whiskers in his way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with the mighty moustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? Oh no, what's he gonna do? After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. Can I hear you all get an idea? Just like that. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ding! He crossed some hair here, and he crossed some hair there, and he tied his moustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. Can I see you all wrap your moustache around your neck and make a moose scarf? Very nice, very nice. But then his moustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled. And those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that moustache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied, unwrapped, unknotted, and gulped in some fresh air. Can I hear you all gulp in some fresh air? Teachers, you might recognize that noise that children make when you're doing, say, a tornado drill and everyone has to duck and cover. And then when it's over, after, mind you, not very long, the children act as though they've never had air ever, and they make that sound. Let's hear it one more time, kids. Can you do it for your teacher? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Right? The same sound. Okay, let's keep going. He got another idea. Let's hear the idea sound. Ding! He parted some hair this way, and he parted some hair that way. And he heaped all of that moustache on top of his head. Mustachioed antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. Until a squadron of squirrels and one very nosy gopher moved right in to the Moose Motel. They huddled and hoarded, furrowed in, and burrowed out. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. That does look like quite the situation, does it not? And very, very noisy. The squirrely chitting and chattering, squeals and squawks woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And that gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed his sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Mustachioed antlers? Nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and unpiled, untwisted and untwined, and said adios to the hairy horns. Can I hear you all say adios? But now what? What? Oh, the miserable Moose took a hold of a hunk of hair, and he wrestled it and roped it, and he tethered and tied and tamed. Aha! A moose tail. Now that was so simple. That was so easy. It was so not perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backward, forward, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea, does it? Can you all say bye to the tail? Bye. And so he thought. And he thought some more. But no other idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother. A moustache sweater? Oh, too sweltering. A net? Not. Ah, poor Moose. His problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. Oh, he felt so alone, and he didn't know what to do. No. What's he gonna do? Then, call it fate, call it destiny. It was probably dumb luck, but one day Moose tripped on his moustache and just had no time to duck. Ooh! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped, and then they blinked, and then they stared, and their hearts went thump-a-thump. Ooh, he's a little sweet on somebody. Can I see you all blink? Okay, now can I see you stare? I'm totally gonna win this. Maybe not. And can I hear your hearts go thump-a-thump? Oh, she was a moose with a bouffant. That means like a big fancy hairdo. So bodacious, outrageous. Well, it was just plain old big. Hair after hair piled higher than high. A skyscraping dew of glorious curls. A tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely superb. Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a dew. Miss Moose winked. Can I see you all wink? Oh, try one more time. Kid in the back. Didn't quite get it. There we go. And then whispered, just a little glue. So she helped. He fearlessly plunged a hoof into a fat pot of the white gooey goop, and carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped and they plopped. They pasted and pressed. They coaxed and curled every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangy mess was now a wondrous, winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled a broad, moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, just giddy with glee. He looked dashing and handsome. Moose gushed, "Is that really me?" Ooh, he's looking fancy. With not a care for one hair, the moose pair boogied and bopped. Can I see you boogie and bop? They skied downhill even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. Oh my gosh, look at this. They're cooking with mustard. Can everyone go? So, of course, it wasn't long after that Moose and his Moosetache and his beautiful bride fox-trotted and tangoed and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days. They vowed to love and to cherish. And with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, I do, glue, and promised never to part. Aww. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. And it stuck. Here they are on their honeymoon. It looks like they went to Niagara Falls. And then they've got a little baby who has some fun hair himself. Isn't that a fun little story? Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And there are other Moosetache stories as well that I could read to you another day. And I hope that after hearing this story, that you all recognize that each of you are perfectly perfect. Moosetache or not. And that you remember this message, that it's the best thing to be yourself and be happy with who you are, because each and every one of you is a bright, shining star. Have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you again soon for another story time. Bye.